to episode 3 of Asambe. Today we are talking to Sidabane, who we have come to know and love as a regular barista.
Makes those yummy coffees at Bertha House.
And all the multitasking.
All the multitasking we used to do something like he used to grind it and
Remembering all the different 15 orders in one go.
yeah, and he remembers your order.
He does, yeah.
So let's start with the place from childhood, actually, right? You grew up where?
So I was born here in Cape Town, in Khayelitsha, with my mom and my dad. They were still married back then, in a Christian home. So I used to dabble between my mom and my grandmother because my grandmother didn't live far from us in Khayelitsha. School, primary, went in Khayelitsha as well for grade 1 and grade 2, I think. And then my then grandmother moved to the Eastern Cape. And then now my mom couldn't dabble because then she leaves early and then she comes back late. Because then when I came back to school, I used to go to my grandmother's and then my mother come and fetch me there when she comes back to work. And then in the morning, she leaves me by my grandmother's and then my grandmother then take me to school. But then she didn't move to the Eastern Cape. So I had to move with her to the Eastern Cape for about 3 years, I think.
Sure.
And then my brother came to Cape Town and then I came back with him. So then there's at least an elderly person to be with me while I am in school. So fast forward, high school, primary. When I came back to Cape Town, I did my primary in Kensington, Windermere Primary School. And then high school, I did it here in Garlandale High School, just down the road, Athlone. Yeah.
Okay, so it's an interesting background.
Yeah. I think moving always is very interesting because I've moved as a kid as well. Did you feel like life was different when you moved to the Eastern Cape and then back?
It did. I moved twice to the Eastern Cape. So I moved when I was in primary.
Huh?
And then again when I was starting grade 8 and then moved again to Eastern Cape back again. But then not to my grandmother, to my grandmother's sister. And then I didn't last a year there. It was a different environment for me. Still in the Eastern Cape, but not where I used to live, where my grandmother and my surroundings that I'm usually used to. So I didn't last really there. It was around about 6 months. And then I to my mother, I need to come back. There was just a lot going on. And for me, my sister's grandma wasn't really the nicest person, I would say. So there was just a lot of things. And part of it, I felt like I was a kid, but I felt a little bit abused a bit to an environment that I wasn't used to. So I decided that I want to come back to a point whereby this other night, my sister's grandmother, chased me out at around 5 p.m. I slept outside.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was doing exams, grade 8. I was doing exams by then. My mom was like, please just finish your June exams so that at least when you apply for school this side, we're able to present these June exams for you. That's if we get a school. But I didn't really do well because then there was just a lot in my head. But then after the June exams, my mother put me a ticket and then I had to come back to Cape Town. And then we tried looking for a school, but then not really a school could get me where I'm used, because I did English and Afrikaans. I didn't do Xhosa. So then my mother, I couldn't go back to the schools that were in the township because then they were not doing Afrikaans. So my mother tried getting me to schools around this area, but they couldn't because my grades were not really that good, that June exam. So I had to stay at home for the rest of the 6 months and then redo grade 8 again the following year. So it was a bit of an experience, a good and a bad one, I would say. But yeah.
Like you kept coming back to Khayelitsha, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that. How was it growing up in Khayelitsha?
The streets are bad in Khayelitsha. But if you're a person who's not into those street things, I would say you move your own way and do your own things. But for me, it has been an experience growing in township. I still live in township even now. Nothing bad has ever, for me though, personally, nothing bad has ever came out of the township experience. I've never been robbed. We've never been mugged. We've never had a break at my mother's place. Nothing of that sort. So it's been a bit of a challenge where there's a lot of pressure, especially as I would say, because then you see your peers. They started smoking at a very young age. They started going out at a very young age, and there was a time where gangsterism was at its peak in Khayelitsha, where sections used to fight a lot with like dangerous weapons. And I'm glad I wasn't part of that thing that was happening. But has been a tough experience, and also a learning experience, what you take and what not to take growing up in certain areas. Yeah, I would say.
How did you prevent yourself from falling into those kind of habits?
I don't know. I think firstly, my mother's prayers. She's always been there for me. She's very supportive. I'm glad to have her as a mother. But also, I think how I've been raised. My mother, she's been there since day one, and she's open and wants me to be open as much as possible with me and my sibling. So, I mean, there are things as a boy that you do. You the streets, you feel pressure, but then again, your mother hears about those things, and then she's like, you have a future, and if you continue to go down this road, this is what is going to happen. Your future is in your hands. So if you do this and this, you can see that guy and that guy and that guy. It is an example of, if you go down this road, this is what is going to happen. So it depends on you, but I'm here. And your brother is here. If you ever need to talk, if you ever need anything, I am here. So she's been in the system since day one, man, I would say.
It's crazy the role mothers play.
Yeah.
Like I've seen, like we're speaking to Tembi recently, and she was speaking about the role her mother played. I know the role my mother played and Sadia's mother played in that. And it's amazing how these women can do so much. They can pull the whole family and community together.
Yes.
And that, I think I'm recently realizing women don't even need men for anything.
They can just do it themselves.
They can just do it themselves.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not the reality. And a child needs both if
the parents.
But amazing how powerful we actually are. Can we talk about schooling on this side? Like, what was the difference between Khayelitsha and here? And was that the only reason that the language was the only reason that you had to study on this side? Or was there other reasons that you also came to this side for education?
I started doing it in English primary, right? So that's after I came to the Eastern Cape. So there was grade 4, I think. Grade 4, grade 5. I think the main reason for her that she sent me to that particular school was a good education, I think. That I get up education, because I don't think she really believed that there was a proper education in the township as well. But I refused to that. So I think that was the main reason why she sent me to the school. But then when I went to the Eastern Cape for date, and when I came back, I couldn't take Xhosa anymore. So she had those schools that take Afrikaans and English. And I was really struggling. I don't want to lie. I was really struggling. It was a really struggle for me, because until this day, I don't know Afrikaans. She took me to Afrikaans school all these years, but till this day, I don't know Afrikaans. And this is, I think we have had a chat about this, where I had to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning to go to school. School started at 8 o'clock. So there's traveling, there's traffic and all of that in order to get to this side. So, well, I shouldn't hide it, but it was a bit of a struggle because I would get to school tired already, and unable to focus sometimes. So I found that very challenging. And then you get your peers are different. They come from different homes, different backgrounds. You get colored friends, you get Xhosa friends, you get Zulu friends. They all come from different backgrounds, and they were all raised up differently. And as a child, you kind of like adapt into everything. For me, though, it was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Even though it's not really a good thing to do, I would say. But I was like, oh, that's interesting. That seems fun. Even though I'm like, this is not good. I shouldn't be doing this. At home, they wouldn't allow this. But I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I would do that. I would do this. Because the habit of smoking started in high school when I started school in Athlone. But I'm glad I stopped smoking now. So it was just a pressure for that grade 8 up until I finished school. So it was just pressure for that time. And I think part of it was just that there are all these people coming from all different backgrounds, and one is telling you this and one is telling you that, and you're seeing this and you're seeing that, and you kind of just, your head is all over the place, and you can't kind of feel pressured to doing all these things at the same time. And you know that at home, you shouldn't be doing this. And yeah.
The pressure to fit in, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very interesting. I remember this about this study that was done that showed that people who travel from Khayelitsha to work every day spend 5 years of their life traveling.
Yes.
And I can only imagine what a toll that takes into your education, because those 2 hours or 4 hours basically add up in terms of studying, in terms of your foot is basically 3 steps behind everyone else.
Yes.
That makes a big difference. I remember so I grew up in Tanzania, and I remember taking a version of a taxi from my home to school every day. That ride was 30 minutes. And I can't imagine it being longer than 30 minutes. Especially as a child. 30 minutes is long as a child.
Long.
It's
really long.
If you look at our cartoons, they're basically 5 minutes. The attention span is that low. So I can only imagine what a difference that made.
I think schools don't particularly cater to these different challenges that students face. I did my undergrad at UWC, and I was fortunate enough to stay on res on campus. One of my friends, she stayed in the deep south, and by taking public transport every day to UWC, which is in Belleville, from the deep south. And then eventually her parents said, okay, you know what, we're going to move you to a quote unquote private, person who's who's not even a residence, just someone who was taking transport from those areas all the way to UWC. But she would still, we would have practicals like 2:30 to 5:30 every day in the first year. And she would be exhausted, and it made so much sense. And then she would still not be done. She would have to wait for all of her peers, everyone who was going in the same bus, to be done. And then she used to say she would get home at 8, 8:30. And then when do you even have the time to study?
Yes, exactly.
But much like your situations, schools and teachers often are either unaware of those challenges, or perhaps it's not something they've considered that should be catered towards.
Yeah. That brings me to life after schooling, right? What happened?
So after that, I did get a few jobs here and there, just like casualty jobs, not jobs that are like really jobs. I'd say I lasted like a year or two, just like a month or two, and then I stayed at home again, and then another month or two, and then I get another job. So it has been that from, what year was it? From 2018. Yeah, I was at home almost half of the year. And then 2019, I think that was towards COVID, I think. I was still at home, but I used to get like jobs here and there, not really like good jobs, but I was basically at home the entire time, not doing nothing. So I then found out that my then girlfriend was pregnant. And then we had my daughter 2019. And then reality kicked that because my mother told me as well that, Ish, Fana, now you have a daughter and I'm not working and you need to figure out a way to get a job. Because now I hear you talking about school, but school is not really an option right now because I'm not working, you're not working, no one is working. How are we going to be able to feed the child? So I started looking for a job. I got a job at Sportsin in Mitchellson. Worked there for 6 months. The contract ended after 6 months. Stayed at home again, 2020. And then Sindile came. So I wasn't doing nothing 2020. And then I started running, just going for a jog because I wanted to get home that much. I wanted something that will take me, distract my mind from just home and depressed and doing nothing. So I started jogging. I then saw Sindile on a bicycle. He was riding a bicycle. I asked him, "Sure, Khotman, how do you join this?" He was like, "Shosti, Sindile is my brother's friend. He owns a bicycle shop in Khayelitsha."
It's Khayelitsha Cycles.
Yeah, Khayelitsha Cycles. Yes,
Because
yes. Cape Town, Cape Town. Yes. So, they went up because he was my brother's friend, and he saw me grow up. So I then saw him, talked to him. He was like, "Hey, Steve, we're not really a cycling club, but you can pull through by the shop, and we can talk and we'll figure out something." So, okay, I was like, okay, cool. I didn't go then. 2 months went by. I saw him again, but we didn't really talk. It was just like, I was like, "Oh, Kanene, Sindile talked about this." So I then went to his bicycle shop. That was close to Rand's back then in Khayelitsha. Went there. I saw the place. It was an amazing space. We started as just having like Thursday rides, afternoon. I joined there. They're having every Thursday they had rides. I joined. I had those rides. He gave me a bicycle. I then started like exercising with the bicycle just around Khayelitsha, you know. I think 3-4 months down, him and his partner Juma, they then came with the idea that they're going to open a restaurant/cafe in Khayelitsha. So would I be keen into like working there? Because I wasn't working at the time. I was just basically there with the guys every day, learning how to fix a bicycle, learning how to do that. I just wanted to be outside of the house back then. So they then present this idea and I was like, yeah, sure, cool. I mean, I'll take anything now. So he was like, okay, cool. We're gonna let you know when everything is gonna start. A month or two after they talked about that, container came with equipment, everything, your coffee machine, your fryers and everything. We started working on a menu. We were then serving breakfast and lunch. So they hired a couple of people. So I think it was 3 or 4 of us. It was 3 ladies, myself. So we started working there. Would prepare special would prepare breakfast. So there was just a cycling club that every weekend. So we would prepare those breakfasts for them and sell it to them. Those English breakfasts we would sell it to them. So because they wouldn't really find an English breakfast in the township. So they had to cycle to maybe to Stellenbosch to get that, or maybe come this side to get that. But we thought, why not bring Stellenbosch into Khayelitsha and just serve them the English breakfast and whatever they need. So we started doing that. And I wasn't really interested into coffee then. I saw the machine was there. I was like, nah, that's not my thing. Since I love food, I was like, I'm gonna put my head here. So I then started cooking. We're doing basically everything, like breakfast. We're doing your sandwiches. We're doing this, and load shedding started. Load shedding. We're struggling with power. We then moved to Khayelitsha more, to be closer where we know there's a generator and all. But there was just politics as well, man, there with the management and electricity and all of that. So eventually, I think it was about 2022, 2023, they had to close because now the power was getting out of hand. And we would have food today, not have food tomorrow, and not have maybe the next day we will serve and the other day we don't serve. So we were inconsistent in that. So he then met Nadisa, and they talked about the space. That's when he moved the side with the coffee, only the coffee machine though. And I was still left there in Khayelitsha. So one of the ladies that we were working with, she was the one who was interested in coffee. So she went for a short course. And then she was the one to decide firstly to come and learn how to do coffee. And she was the one serving coffee then. I was still in Khayelitsha back then. Just I was basically doing nothing back then after that. But Sinila was still paying me. He was still paying me out of his pocket. He was like, "Ish, Steve, we are facing this now, but I know you gotta eat. I know you have a daughter. And then I'll give you just a little bit of money just to get by because I know you've been working." And now all of a sudden this happens. So yeah.
Tell us about that then. So after that, how did you become a barista?
Barista. Didn't want to be a barista. I really didn't want to. It was just to me, man, like doing coffee. Ish, this thing. I didn't really understand it back then. Because like I said, I just fell in love with food and I wanted to do food. That's it. And I wanted to persuade that as well. So when the guys came this side, Usindile talked about the idea of me coming and helping Uletso this side. So Uletso was working with Ushamila. I think you guys have seen her in the space. There was a lady, I think last week she was here.
Yeah, I've seen her.
Yes. So she's with Uletso then. Usindile talked about it, that I wanted to go and help the guys from time to time that side. But okay, there's no issue with that. So he tried getting, well, he then took me to a training first with Pang. There's a guy called Pang Specialty Coffee in town. Took me for a training there for like 1 or 2 days. And then he took me to Tribe Coffee in Cape Town, Muizenberg, where the guys were roasting their coffee and everything. So I did a little bit of training there as well. Sorry. We did a little bit of training there, and then I was able to come and assist the guys from time to time, especially if the space was busy, the space was booked, or whatever the case may be. So I would come in as a third person to come and help in the guys. So that's how it started. And then one of the ladies, she got an internship. So then I had to come in. I had no choice now but to come in and be here from Monday until Friday. So I then Sinile started to give those of that. He basically forced me to training. He was like, "You have no choice now, my brother. You have to go for training because I need you in this. I have no other person that I trust besides you and Shamila as well." So I went for those trainings, and the space was very foreign to me back then. I was like, yeah, I've never been to this space, but I don't want to lie. I got a really warm welcome when I got to the space. really an observant person. I was really shy, but I smile a lot. So I was able to blend into the space. I was comfortable as the time went by. Till I told myself that I have no choice now. I have to put in food on the table and I have no other job. So I might as well learn how to do this and be into it as much as possible. So I then started watching the YouTube videos and all of that. And I basically fell in love with coffee ever since then. And I don't want to lie, I love doing coffee. It's in me. I really, really, really love doing coffee. Ever since then, Sindile was here. I think they were here for, I'm not sure, I think a year. And then after a year, their contract ended. And then he told me that, Esti, our contract is not renewed. And by, I think it was 2023. Yeah. By June, May, June, our last month. So I'll be out of a job again.
Yeah.
What's happening? So he was like, I tried talking to them that, can they at least take you? They were like, no, we are not taking him. If he wants to, he'll have to apply as everyone else. Hey, what is this? So they then extended by a month, and then Sindile stayed for another month. And then he then moved out. And then Bertha took charge of the activist cafe fully, because what I've heard that first gangster cafe that used to operate at the activist cafe, and then after gangster cafe guys, that's when then Sindile came in after after the gangster cafe guys, and then Bertha decided to have the activist cafe in-house. So they then told me that you have to apply as everyone else. We'll put up a poster, have to apply for the job, and we'll do interviews. You'll be included in those interviews. It's like, yo, it comes again. They asked me, since they were still looking for everything, just getting everything right, they asked me if I could be with them for 3 months. In that 3 months, I worked. I was not sure if am I getting the job? Is it after this 3 months? Am I not getting the job? I was really not sure what was happening. So the first month I worked under Bertha now. And then the second month, again, I worked. Then the second month, they started doing interviews. I think it was about 4 people who were there in the interviews. And then I then got the job. They told me that I got the job. They're giving me a 6 months contract. I was like, whew, I'm glad. After 2 months into the job, they called me again. They were like, please come into the office. We have something we need to discuss. I'm a very nervous person. So when you say that, I'm like, yo.
Just say what you want to discuss.
Just please tell me now. I was like, yo, did I do something wrong? What could it be? Called me. They told me that we are taking it permanently. So yeah, I've been rocking ever since then. It's been
Quite a journey.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, I'll say. Yeah.
I think it's really beautiful that you fell in love with coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, starting from somebody who was like, nah, coffee, to actually liking it. I want to go back a little bit though. I'm interested, before, like when you were in high school, did you know what you wanted to do for the rest of your life?
At first, I wanted to think that's most when kids, yeah. And then after that, high school, I then fell in love with food, as I said. So I took subject that had food classes and all of that, practicals and whatever. So I wanted to be a chef basically, because I loved food. So that's what I wanted in high school. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense considering your journey that the chef is. And do you see yourself ever going back into that in the future?
No.
Really?
No, not really. No, I haven't. Since started doing coffee and all of that, I haven't really looked back into what I wanted then. But I've recently been interested in music and clothes. So that's around about my interest now. So music, coffee, and clothes. And I think they all a chain. It's they all in the same circle, I would say, or category in some sort. So that's basically my interest right now. But food, not really. Yeah, I think I just love just eating food and not just preparing it or doing it professionally. Yeah.
People wouldn't know that you're the composer of also the music.
The playlist.
Activist Cafe. Yeah, so just also taking a bit of a step back, you mentioned that you did want to study after high school, after metric, I presume, but that option was basically not there for you. Would you go back and pursue that if you could?
Yes, definitely I would. Because then my uncle used to say that in Fana, school is very important. And if you want to succeed in life, you have to have school in your life. There's no other way but to go to school, finish whatever you want to finish. If you want to have a degree in certain things, you have to have it. So if ever there is an opportunity and I would take it, and I'm still looking into going back to school when the time allows. Yeah. And I figured maybe you asked what I would do there. As I've said, I think fashion. Yeah, I think I'm really keen in looking at that right now, and music a bit. But I'm not sure if when I'm saying fashion, I want to do clothes. I don't want to do sewing and sitting down and doing, but I think mostly branding and sort of like, I don't know. I'm still doing trying to understand really is it that I have really interest in before I go back to school. But it's definitely fashion and music for now that I'm really interested in. But I'm trying to ask around and research and try and get the understanding, because it's in my head, but I'm struggling to put it into words to know if I go to school, this is what I'll be studying in order for me to do this career that I want. Yeah.
But I think that makes sense, because often the assumption is that we know what we want to do for the rest of our lives at some point in our lives. But I think we're constantly evolving. So our interests and what we want to do will also evolve. And I like that you're also like asking around, because I think one of the mistakes I made when I was in high school was just being like, no, this is what I want to do. And then when I actually started talking to people, after my mom was like, you need to start talking to people, I realized, whoa, this is not at all what I thought it was. And actually, it wasn't something I was interested in. It was just the idea of it that I was interested in. So yeah, it's. I think it's that we all have different interests throughout our lives, and that's okay, because we are changing constantly.
And they can change anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I often repeat story, which I guess people are now tired of. You almost have 4 careers in your life, and I'm sure this is not your last career. It seems like there is another version of you going to be in the future, which is exciting. And I agree, those 3 things: coffee, music, and clothes.
Yeah.
People who can't see Sidabane right now, he's rocking a really nice white shirt with a graphic. Cool. I'm sure there's someone listening here and wants to be a barista as well, because of the amount of work that goes into it, the detail that goes into it. If they want to get into this space and they love coffee, I have a friend who loves coffee as well, what would you suggest that they do?
I would say, I think just taking a course and see if it's something that you're willing to do. Comes with a lot of pressure, I would say. But then with that pressure, you really have to be a calm person as well, and try and understand coffee as much as possible, and try to understand the people you're serving as well, the people that are opposite the counter. It's really a nice job or career, I would say, because it teaches you a lot of yourself, teaches you a lot about your personality, and a lot about the environment you find yourself in. Because before I started doing coffee, I was a bit of a shy person. I was not confident. I couldn't really look someone in the eyes when I'm talking to them. It was a struggle for me. And I think maybe if I dabbled into another job first before being a barista, I would still be struggling even now. So it has taught me how to interact with people, how to be confident in that. One thing about coffee, it also senses your mood. It fills you, and that's one thing I've noticed. It really senses you. I've noticed that by people, my usuals, ordering coffee, and a person would drink that coffee and then come back and be like, "Are you well today? What's going on?" So by me saying it senses your mood, you're under a lot of stress or you're going through something. That touch that's usually there, it's not there in that cup when you're really dealing with something. Because now you're just doing the coffee just because you need to get this done. But when you yourself, I mean, through different things, and we have good days and bad days. And when I make coffee, so let's say I just had something terrible, and then I leave home, and then I came here, I'm able to switch. I've learned to switch between my personalities, and I know this is how I need to act when I'm on the other side, and this is how I need to act when I'm on the other side. So it has taught me that. And to answer your question, if a person really wants to get into it, I think they should take those classes and see if it's something that they really would love to. But coffee is an amazing and do, and there's a lot of steps that needs to be done in order to do coffee. It's not just the espresso and just the milk. There's maths that's included into doing coffee. There's cupping. There's tasting. There's fruits that you need to taste in order to understand why this sediment tastes like this. Because some of the coffee blends are made with, they add fruits into coffee basically. So that there's different taste. There's grapes into coffee. There's chocolate into coffee. Those flavors. So in order for you to understand the espresso going to a cappuccino and tasting the way it's tasting, you have to go through those stages and understanding and tasting the coffee and knowing those tasting methods, tasting buds as well, and all of that. So yeah.
Now I want to do a coffee tasting. Like a coffee farm. Is there a farm?
I love tasting.
Is it? So there's I'm not I would ask around now again. There's a coffee expo that usually happens in the docks here in town.
Oh.
They host it maybe like once or twice a year, and it happens for 3 days. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you get to taste coffee there. Yeah. So you buy a ticket, and then you just walk around. There's like all the cafes that are here in Cape Town or Western Cape. They're basically there.
Yeah.
They set up shop, and then you just walk around there by the docks and just tasting different types of coffee.
Oh my God.
And I don't promise you will go out there with because you just basically drink coffee.
It doesn't affect me though. Like coffee doesn't wake me up or anything. So
Amazing. Me and you, because I could have coffee at 8 o'clock and
Same.
I'm in bed.
Same.
I have no issues with. So yeah, it's just simply like wine, I would say. Because in wine there's tasting as well. You have to understand certain fruits. So it's exactly like that. But it's just that it's an espresso, it's coffee. Yeah.
That's really a nice take on coffee because I've been drinking coffee for, a large part of my life. And I've never actually thought about there's beans, coffee beans, and then the extent of it, So yeah, it's really cool to know the intricacies of that. And I know you also said, we've seen you like in terms of skills that you exhibit as a barista. Like you said that you become more social. Your confidence has. I know some days when there's events, you have so many orders to prepare, and you're doing that. I wonder how are you possibly remembering? Even if you write it on cups, the shorthand, would you not forget? So it sounds like there's a lot of also like skills that you could use in like your daily life and in other careers as well that are very like transferable. You wouldn't necessarily think that these are skills that would come through experience. A lot of people assume, you need to learn something first and then do it. But it's quite cool that you learned these on the job.
As a final note, I want to know why shouldn't you have the first coffee made by a barista?
So when you close the cafe, you wash the coffee, right? You put a detergent in that, the powder. So you will drink detergent because when I get in the morning, I first do the first shots, throw away those shots so that I know no one drinks those first shots. But really, the main reason why there's that saying is because the first few cups of coffee are not really ideal coffees because in the grinder, I'm still taking out the coffee that was in the hopper, and that coffee has gotten air. So once coffee gets air, it basically becomes old. Even gets air for 12 hours, it basically becomes old because hence it comes in those sealed packages so that there's no air coming in once it's roasted, and you have to use it at a certain time, and when you close shop you have to make sure that you put it back in a sealed container again so that there's no air that comes that gets in those sealed containers. Now with the hopper, there's air that gets into the grinder and the hopper. So I say those few cups are not ideal because coffee will taste a little bit better. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but one day I will give you that shot again and give coffees that day and say, drink this morning coffee. And then after like 11, 12, and then I say, have this coffee again with a fresh bean that's been in a sealed container. And then you'll tell me the difference. So that's why it's really not ideal to have those few first cups in the morning because air is just not allowed in beans, not at all. Hence, you get to some cafes when they close, they remove those hoppers in those beans and they seal it. And in the morning, they put it back up again. But here we don't have those much of equipments that we have to remove the coffee, put it back in. But what I do is that towards the end of the day, if I see that it's not really that busy, I don't add more coffee. I just leave that tiny bit of coffee and then I just maybe like grind it and throw away in the morning. Or if it's still like half in the hopper, I have to serve it either way. I have no choice.
Well,
but yeah.
So now we know the secret to a great coffee is basically patience.
You have to be patient. You have to, but I try by all means to not let the coffee the night in the grinder. That at least I pour in fresh coffee in the morning. I try by all means to do that. Hence, we been there. The guys that served us the beans, they those packages so that I am able to measure how much coffee I pour and at what time do I really top up the coffee. So if I know it's around like 2, 3, I know by then 3, I don't get as much orders as in the morning. So I know that, okay, this 250 gram will give me, let's say, around about 15 coffees. And then around 3, I won't do 15 to 20 coffees. It's not really a thing that I really do in this space. So from 3 until like 5 o'clock when I go home, I really do about like 5 to some coffees and then I close the shop. So I try by all means not to serve you guys an off coffee. I really care for my customers. Yeah, I really love my customers.
It shows, and we do appreciate the extra.
Thanks so much, Sidabane, for having been here on a Saturday, chatting with us about your background.
Yeah, it's really very unique, the journey that you took. And I think it's quite cool because most people don't have a linear journey. So thank you for sharing what, brought you to where you are, to loving coffee and your customers. And yeah, if there's any resources that you like to share with people in terms of YouTube, or people can just search up. I know YouTube is a very big library of things.
Yeah.
Then that would be always useful. I just want to say on behalf of both of us, thank you once again. And to our audience and our listeners, we will see you in the next one. Asambe.
Cool, man. That was so much fun.
Yeah, so cool.
Well done, man. You did so well.
Did I?
Yes. You did so well. 50